There you are. Hello again. Wish I could see all your faces. I've been busy making another video for you all using our newfound gravy making skills. But before I get that finished, I did want to share a quick video before Easter gets here of one of my favorite Easter recipes. We're all really sad not to be able to spend Easter with our church family this year, and that's been a pretty hard pill to swallow. But this is what God has given us, so we're moving forward. I want to make an egg bread for you today, or challah, or challah bread as it's also known. Eggs are plentiful in the spring, and so this bread has become synonymous with lots of spring celebrations and Easter as well. I did have some hopes of making a bunch of this bread for my church family and making it available for pickup this weekend. But with all the latest mandates, I've had to let that go, which is sad. But now I'm going to give it to you virtually if you're willing to make the effort. It is a little bit more work than some of my other breads, but it's so worth the effort. It's really delicious bread, and it's beautiful. It really is a showstopper for your table. Okay, so what we have here are 6 cups of all-purpose or bread flour. Into that, we are going to put a tablespoon of yeast, or a package of yeast, a tablespoon of salt, and half a cup of sugar. All right, those are your dry ingredients. Wet ingredients will be 1 cup of room temperature water, half a cup of vegetable oil, and here's your eggs. This is 4 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. I already separated out 2. The extra yolk gives it a really nice golden color at the end and a nice satiny kind of sheen to it. It's a very pretty bread. So those are all going to go right in there. Okay, that's all your ingredients. The only other thing you're going to need is the ability to braid. I suppose you could make this bread without braiding it. I've just never tried it. I'm not sure where the tradition of braiding came from. You can even, in some Eastern European countries, braid whole baked eggs or boiled eggs in, I'm not sure how to do it, I've never tried it, with the braid itself. Might be interesting to try. You can also make these loaves into little wreaths, which I think I might try to do with my kids. Again, if you have a stand mixer, by all means use it. This dough is fairly stubborn. It's going to take a little bit more elbow grease to get all of the moisture worked in. With stand mixer, you're just going to put all the ingredients in your bowl and use your dough hook and let it do its work. It should only take a few minutes for it all to come together, and this dough will be a very tight, satiny looking ball of dough. All right, I've gotten in about as much as I can with a spoon, so I'm going to go ahead and dump this out onto my surface here with a little bit of flour and get in there with my heel of my hand. So just dump it out. You may think it's too dry, but it will come together. You can already see that it's a very yellow dough. It's also going to be a very soft dough. Okay, see, that's coming together nicely. You're going to want to get every little bit of flour in there that you can. Kneading develops the gluten in your flour. And that you're going to need to give it the stretch and the rise that your flour or your yeast needs to make a good fluffy loaf of bread. If it starts to stick to your surface, add a little bit more flour. You don't want this dough to stick to your hands. You can see that it's still sticking to the palm of my hand. You don't want it to do that. Again, the more you make bread, the more you'll get a feel for how different doughs should be at the end of the kneading process. Okay. All right, that's feeling a lot better. No longer sticking to the palm of my hand. It's coming together in a nice smooth. You'll see that when you start kneading it, it's going to look a little shaggy, but now it's smoothing out nicely. Okay, so I left that ball of dough just sitting here covered on my counter with some plastic wrap for about an hour. It's pretty warm in my kitchen. It might take a little longer. It's about doubled in size. It's really, really soft and tender right now with a really nice stretch to it. You see how stretchy that is? Okay, I've got some helpers here with me to show you the next step. All right, so I have my baking sheet here. This is a Silpat baking mat. You can use parchment paper. You can spray it with Pam because the egg, oh, get me an egg out, would you, from the fridge? The egg will stick a little bit. So we've got our loaf or our dough here. We're going to cut it in half. This is going to make 2 loaves of bread. This bread freezes really nicely. So if you could cut this recipe in half if you want, or if you're going through all this trouble, I always make a lot and then freeze extras. I don't need that yet. So we're not going to be really exact here. We're going to cut each one of these. Let me put this down a little bit. Okay. Into 3 pieces. Okay, they don't have to be exact. Okay, now you guys are going to help me roll these out. Okay, just kind of squeeze.
Weird.
Yeah, kind of like you're making a snake with Play-Doh. Okay, this is a really fun one for your kiddos to do. Okay, put some 3 more. Okay, no, you don't need to twist it. Just when it's done.
It's good.
Ooh, that's nice and long. Now you'll find that the gluten in this dough is going to spring back a little bit. So you'll stretch it out and then it will go back a little bit. That's okay. Just let it relax for a little bit. Okay. All right. Okay, Lena, get that other one. These would be a great loaf to give to a neighbor who might be lonely this Easter season. They just are so pretty when they're done. They make a great presentation.
Can I give one to Quinn?
Maybe. Okay, so let's just do one of these at a time. To braid it, hang on, we're going to do one at a time. You've got your 3 strips. Stretch them out a little bit because they're wanting to go back a little. All right. I always start in the middle like that. Okay. And then you're just going to go down, just braiding like you would braid hair or any other thing you would braid. And then you want to take this end, pinch it really hard, and tuck it underneath, because otherwise it tends, as it rises, to come undone in the oven, and then you have kind of a funny shaped end for your loaf. Okay, don't do that. Put that down, please. Okay, so then you're going to finish braiding out the other end. Pinch really firmly, tuck it under. Okay, so there we have 1 braided loaf, just like that. Okay, and that is going to rise. It's going to get about double this size. So the loaves will probably be touching by the time they get out. You want to try and braid it? Yes?
Wait.
Hi. Sorry, I had to cut off that last video. Somebody dropped an egg on the floor. The joys. Okay, so I braided both of those loaves and I let them rest on my baking sheet for about half an hour. And this is how much larger they've gotten, almost doubled in size. So then all we need to do is, with another egg that didn't get dropped on the floor, beat one together with just a splash of water like we did with the artisan bread. Again, this is just to give it a nice golden color. It's already a fairly yellow bread, but this will make it shiny and that much prettier. So just brush it on there. Your oven should be set to 375 degrees. And this is going to bake for about 25 minutes until the top is nice and golden brown. All right. And again, a sprinkling of salt, or a lot of people like to put a little bit of black poppy seed on it. That makes it really pretty. You can put sesame seed on it. Everything sticks nicely to this egg wash, just to give things a little bit of a crunch, a little bit of a pretty color. So that is our egg bread, ready to go for Easter. It's going in the oven now. All right, here is our challah bread. It's been baking in the oven for 25 minutes. It's nicely golden and brown and shiny, and it smells just wonderful. It is all ready to go on your Easter table. I hope you all have a wonderful Easter, and I hope that we can all see you again sooner rather than later. Right, sweetie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy Easter. We'll see you soon.